This is trash, Margaret. Seriously, who keeps stuff like this? My daughter-in-law Jessica stood in her perfect white kitchen, holding my late husband's restored lamp between two fingers like it might contaminate her. Let me tell you something about that moment. That specific moment when someone you've been patient with for years finally shows you exactly who they are. That was Tuesday, and everything changed. I'm Margaret Thompson, 74, retired ER nurse. And I'd just carried 3 boxes of family heirlooms into my son's house. Antiques, picture frames, a quilt my mother made, thinking maybe they'd finally put up some family photos. Build some memories. Wrong. David, come help me throw out your mom's stuff. Throw. Out, not donate. Not store. Throw. I watched her march my boxes straight through that sterile kitchen to the back patio. My throat went tight. My hands started shaking. Jessica, that lamp alone, Robert spent months restoring. It's junk. She wasn't even looking at me, just dumping everything onto the concrete like garbage bags. My son David came downstairs, saw what was happening, did nothing, just gave me this weak shrug. Mom, you know how Jess gets about clutter. My memories were clutter. Jessica brushed past me, already on her phone. We're trying to keep things modern, Margaret. Clean, you understand? She kicked one of the boxes aside. I heard glass crack inside. That was my mother's picture frame, the one with the antique gold trim. Be honest with yourself, Jessica said, that fake sweet voice dripping with condescension. It's trash, ha ha ha. She laughed. And something inside me, something that had been bending for 6 years under her comments. Her eye rolls, her constant reminders that I wasn't good enough, that something snapped, but I didn't yell. Didn't cry, I got quiet. You're right, Jessica. My voice came out soft, steady. Just old junk. I'll get out of your hair. She looked almost surprised I'd agreed so easily. I collected my purse, kissed David's cheek. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Walked out to my old Honda, the one Jessica always mocked. But here's what she didn't know. Inside that cracked picture frame, the one she'd just kicked onto the patio like trash, hidden behind my mother's faded photograph was a document Robert had left for David before he died. Property deeds, bank information, insurance papers, worth more than Jessica's entire designer wardrobe, and she'd just thrown it away. I sat in my car, hands steady on the wheel, and made a decision. No crying. No begging for respect. No complaining to David, who'd already chosen his side. No, I was going to teach Jessica a lesson about what happens when you throw away something precious without bothering to look at what it really is. Because I wasn't some helpless old woman. I was a woman who'd spent 40 years in emergency rooms dealing with arrogant doctors and life or death situations that would break people half Jessica's age. I knew how to plan, how to wait, how to strike at exactly the right moment, and Jessica had just given me that moment. As I drove away, my phone buzzed. Jessica, thanks for understanding, Margaret. Maybe think about downsizing your own place. Less stuff, less stress. I stared at that message. Then I smiled, because by tomorrow morning, Jessica was going to realize she'd made the biggest mistake of her life, that trash on her patio. It contained the key to David's inheritance, Robert's entire estate, properties, accounts, everything, and tomorrow was garbage day. Would Jessica figure it out in time? Would she dig through that trash pile before the trucks came? Or would she lose everything because she was too busy being cruel to notice what mattered? I thought to myself, some people have to learn the hard way, and Jessica? She was about to get the education of a lifetime, because when you disrespect someone who's been silent too long, you forget they might have been gathering power the whole time, and by the time Jessica realized what she'd done, it would already be too late. I didn't sleep that night, not from upset, from planning. Real revenge isn't anger, it's timing. At 6:47 a.m., The garbage truck appeared on David's street. I was watching. Parked 3 houses down, engine off, coffee going cold in my hand. The workers grabbed the first bag, then the second, then the third. That's when the front door flew open. Jessica came running out in silk pajamas. Hair wild, mascara streaked down her face like she'd been crying all night. "Wait! Stop! Please stop!" She was screaming at the workers, diving toward the garbage pile like a woman possessed, tearing open bags with her bare hands, dirt under her fingernails, coffee grounds all over her pajamas. "There's important documents." Her voice cracked. I need, lady, it's all mixed now," the worker said. "We can't stop the whole route." The truck pulled away. Jessica collapsed on the lawn, surrounded by garbage, surrounded by her own mess. That's when David came out. He saw his wife on the ground, saw the torn bags, saw the chaos. "Jess, what's going on?" "Your father's documents." Panic flooded her voice. "The picture frame. Everything. It's gone." David went pale. "What documents?" "Property deeds, bank accounts, your inheritance. It was all hidden in that frame and I—" Jessica's voice cracked completely. "I threw it away." The silence was deafening. David just stared. At his wife, at the garbage truck disappearing down the street, at everything falling apart. "You threw away my father's estate documents." His voice was flat. "Dead. I didn't know." Jessica was still on the ground. "How was I supposed to know your mother hid things?" "This is her fault for not telling us." "Her fault. Even now it was her fault." David's expression changed. Something cold settled over his face. "My mother tried to tell you," he said quietly. "She said that lamp was valuable. She said those things were special. And you laughed. You called her stuff trash. But David, you threw away my inheritance because you couldn't listen for 5 seconds." David walked back into the house. I sat in my car, watching it all. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. But I knew exactly who it was. "Hello?" David's voice was shaking. "Hi, sweetheart. Is everything okay?" "Mom, did you put Dad's documents in those frames?" I paused. "Let him hear my breathing." "Oh, no." I made my voice small, worried. "Oh, David, please tell me Jessica didn't—" "She threw it away, Mom. All of it. His will, the property deeds, the life insurance." I let out a soft sob. "Very believable. Your father wanted you to have those things," I said quietly. "He wanted to make sure you'd be okay." Behind the phone, I heard Jessica screaming. "She's lying. This is a setup." David ignored her. "I'm coming to see you, Mom, right now. I need to figure this out." "Of course, honey. I'll make coffee." I hung up and smiled. That small, knowing smile of someone who's been patient for 6 years. Because here's the thing, nobody knew. Those documents in the frame? Copies. Very good copies. Aged paper. Official seals. The whole thing. But copies. The real documents. The actual property deeds, the bank accounts, everything Robert left for David. Those have been locked in my safe deposit box for 6 years. Since the day he died, I'd made those copies 3 months ago, planted them in the frame, waited, and when Jessica threw them away, calling them trash, she'd walked right into my trap. Now David thought his inheritance was gone, thought his wife had cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars out of pure spite, and he was angry. Really angry, but I wasn't done yet. Not even close, because the best revenge isn't what you take away, it's what you reveal, and I was about to reveal everything Jessica had been hiding for years, everything she didn't want David to see, and when he found out the truth, when he realized his wife had been lying to him all along, that's when the real justice would begin. David arrived at my apartment at 8:15 a.m., his hair disheveled, his shirt half-tucked. He looked like a man watching his entire world collapse. I poured him coffee and pulled out the folder. Not the fake one. "The real one, David," I said quietly. "There's something you need to see. Inside were the actual property deeds, bank statements, The insurance policy Robert had taken out specifically to protect him. Everything Jessica had no idea existed. David's hands shook as he read. "This is real?" His voice cracked. "Your father left this to protect you," I said. "A year before he died." David looked up, and something shifted in his eyes. "You knew," he said. "You set this up." "I suspected who Jessica was," I admitted. "And I let her show you." "But why didn't you just tell me?" "Would you have believed me?" I asked. "Or would you have thought your mother was being jealous?" He didn't answer because he already knew the truth. "There's more," I said gently. Over the next 30 minutes, I showed him everything. Bank transfers to accounts he didn't know existed. Hotel charges 2 towns over. 14 months of secrets on credit cards she'd hidden from him. David's face went white. He couldn't finish, spending money you didn't know about. At places you've never been. I kept my voice steady, while telling you our family was beneath her notice. His phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. "Where are you? Why won't you answer? Please come home. We need to fix this." He stared at the message. "She doesn't know," he said quietly. "She doesn't know the documents can be replaced. She doesn't know you had backups. She doesn't know that I've spent the last 2 hours reviewing statements showing she's been draining our accounts." "No," I agreed. "She doesn't." David sat silent for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone. "I need to call a lawyer," he said. His voice was steady now, certain. I watched him dial. 3 rings. "Hi, I need to file for divorce. And I need to report financial fraud." His voice was calm, direct, the voice of someone who'd finally made a choice for himself. "How fast can we start?" 20 minutes later, David stood to leave. "I should have listened to you," he said. "All those times you tried to warn me about who she really was." "I never warned you," I corrected. "I just lived my life and let her show you on her own." "That's cold, Mom." "No," I said. "That's patience." "There's a difference." David pulled me into a hug. For the first time in 6 years, he held me like he meant it. After he left, I sat on my porch with coffee, watched the morning turn into afternoon, thought about 6 years of patience, 6 years of watching. Someone call my life trash, 6 years of waiting, for the moment when they'd finally show the world who they really were. And the most beautiful part? I didn't have to do anything to destroy her. I just had to understand that some people destroy themselves if you simply let them. If you've ever had to wait for someone to show their true self, let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because Jessica's story doesn't end here. By next week, David will be served with divorce papers. By next month, a forensic accountant will discover the full extent of her financial crimes. And by the time she realizes that throwing away that picture frame was the beginning of the end, she'll be facing charges that go far beyond betrayal. But me? I'll be sitting on my porch, sipping coffee, knowing one simple truth. Sometimes the best revenge is simply knowing that you were right all along. Jessica found out on a Tuesday. David's lawyer sent the papers at 9:47 a.m. divorce petition. Financial fraud complaint. Account freeze. She got the email at Nordstrom. David called me from his lawyer's office 2 hours later. She's screaming that you planted the documents, that I'm being manipulated. What did you tell her? I asked. That you've been patient for 6 years, and that she did this to herself. Jessica didn't accept that. She showed up at David's office at 5:30 p.m. designer sunglasses, perfect hair, falling apart underneath. "We need to talk," she'd said. "This is insane. Your mother planted those—" "Sit down, Jess." David showed her the bank statements, her signature on accounts she'd hidden. "Hotel charges, credit cards, everything. This is old," she'd said. "People make mistakes." "You made a choice," David replied. "Every time you swiped that card, every time you booked that hotel room, every time you told me you were working late." Jessica started crying then. Real tears. Not manipulation, because she finally understood it was over. The lawyer filed fraud charges the next morning. By day 4, David called with updates. The forensic accountant found 3 more accounts. She was planning to disappear. Take the money, vanish. My suspicion had been right all along. Jessica wasn't just having an affair. She was actively stealing from him. By day 10, the police served her at her salon, in front of her clients, in front of everyone. The digital evidence came out next. Text messages discussing timing, emails about offshore accounts, draft letters to accountants about moving assets. She documented her own crime. The settlement was brutal. She kept the car. She kept her clothes. She didn't keep anything else. The accounts were frozen pending restitution. The criminal charges meant she couldn't work in banking or finance. The affair became public record when David's lawyer filed the evidence in court. Last I heard, she was living with her mother in another state, working at a coffee shop. The woman who'd once called my antique lamp trash was now serving coffee to strangers. The woman who'd mocked my old-fashioned values was now living the simple life I'd always cherished. Sometimes irony is the best teacher. 6 months later, David visited. He sat on my porch like that morning when his world fell apart, but his eyes were different now, clear. "I wanted to thank you," he said. "For what?" "For not telling me directly, for letting me see it myself. Because if you'd just told me, I might not have believed you. But because you made me see it." He trailed off. "You finally understood," I finished, "that you weren't trying to destroy her. You were trying to save me." I smiled. "Real love is letting someone have the truth, no matter how long it takes them to see it," I said. "How did you know?" David asked. "How did you know what she was capable of?" "Because I'm a woman," I said. "And I've seen women like Jessica my whole life. Women who think the world owes them everything, and who have no idea that every action has a consequence. So you just waited?" "I lived my life," I corrected. "I maintained my dignity. I documented what I saw, and I waited for her to show you who she really was." David nodded slowly. "Do you regret any of it?" he asked. I thought about 6 years of watching him be manipulated. 6 years of biting my tongue while Jessica mocked everything I valued. 6 years of patience. "No," I said. "I don't regret it. Because the truth always comes out, and when it does, it destroys lies completely." David left that evening. But before he went, he hugged me the way he used to when he was young, like I was the only solid thing in an uncertain world, because I was. And sometimes being solid means being patient. Means watching the people you love make mistakes. Means waiting for them to see the truth on their own. Because when they finally do see it, the realization is so complete that they can never go back to the lie again. Jessica tried calling 3 times after the divorce was final. David didn't answer. He didn't need her apology. He'd already learned what he needed to know about who she really was, and more importantly, he'd learned who his mother really was, too. Not a bitter woman trying to destroy her daughter-in-law, but a woman who loved her son enough to let him fail, and strong enough to catch him when he did. Thank you for listening to today's story from Granny Story Corner. Life teaches us lessons in the most unexpected ways, doesn't it? If this story touched your heart, please subscribe for more real-life tales that remind us of our shared humanity. Until next time, may your own story be filled with wisdom and love.